What's good, y'all? Shigar Kyle. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you could just help me out by subscribing, let me reach that goal, I'd be really appreciative. And today we're going to be talking about the Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics trade. And this is a trade that I think was really good, but upon first seeing it, I was kind of wary about what they gave up to get Jrue Holiday. But when you really think about it, Jrue Holiday is a really great add to any team, and he's especially a great add to a team that's, always knocking on the door of a championship like the Boston Celtics are. So let's talk about it. The Boston Celtics, they gave up Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, a 2024 first-round pick, and a 2029 unprotected first, and in exchange for Jrue Holiday, and they got him from the Portland Trail Blazers, who I'm going to talk about in another video. But the Boston Celtics really cleaned up here. They got a guy who averaged 19 points per game last season, 7 assists per game last season. He got a guy who shot like 38% from three last season, if I'm not mistaken, and 47% from the field. So he did, pretty good scoring-wise. But the real question about Jrue Holiday is just his production in the playoffs. He hasn't always been known to be the most efficient guy in the playoffs. He kind of, shrinks in that setting. But I really think that he's not going to have to do as much in Boston like he had to do in Milwaukee. I think that in Boston, he's going to be able to, kind of benefit off of the other offensive guys around him in Boston. Jason Tatum, one of the best scorers in the league. He garners a lot of attention. Jaylen Brown garners a lot of attention. And now they have Kristaps Porzingis, who can be that third option. So that leaves, Jrue Holiday as the comfortable fourth option. And I think that Jrue Holiday is going to be most comfortable there because I kind of felt like most of the time he was overextended in Milwaukee. Like, too much creating on his part, too much kind of playmaking and just decision making. And I always felt like Jrue Holiday was more complimentary than he was a star. And obviously, he's not, I wouldn't call him a role player. I would say he's kind of, above that. Not quite a star, but, he was an all-star last season. So Jrue Holiday is obviously a really good player, but I think that this role of kind of being like a complimentary, kind of tertiary kind of piece as, what the Boston Celtics need him to do and what he's going to be better at doing. So I just really think that, Jrue Holiday is obviously he's going to bring some great defense to that backcourt, and he's a really great kind of upgrade over Marcus Smart. The Boston Celtics traded Marcus Smart to Memphis in order to get some of the guys they got this offseason. And I feel like, they were going to miss him on the defensive end a lot, and they were going to miss that kind of extra playmaking that he brought to the team. But now with this one Jrue Holiday trade, you bring back a lot of what Marcus Smart does with, better creation, with better shooting. So I just think this is a really strong trade for them. But when you look at the package that they gave up, Robert Williams, he was a great player. I don't want to say great. He was a good player, great size, great defender, kind of, versatile when he's healthy. And, he was just, on the come up, getting better every year. But I feel like with the injury history that he had and just, I feel like, they could have kept him, but keeping him wouldn't have been bad. But I'm not too torn up about them getting rid of him because the injury history is just really shaky. And the injury history is probably something that factored into this decision. But when you have a guy like Kristaps Porzingis who's, good at protecting the rim, he's, really tall, really solid wingspan. When you have a guy like that, you're more comfortable to move, you're starting big man Robert Williams. And I feel like he was starting some of the time, and I feel like, trading Malcolm Brogdon, who was obviously unhappy after being included in the initial package to get Kristaps Porzingis. So moving him is no problem. And then you move a first-round pick that you got from Golden State, and then move your own first-round pick. So I think all in all, this package wasn't that crazy. It was definitely one of those trades that, is going to be good for both sides. But obviously, Boston did this in an attempt to kind of combat the Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks trade. So now this kind of delves into, can Boston beat Milwaukee in this setting? And really, I think they can, because even before this Jrue Holiday trade, I thought they could definitely beat the Milwaukee Bucks. But after this, I really think that they're going to give them a great run for their money. If there's ever two guys who you want to kind of take turns guarding Damian Lillard, it would be Jrue Holiday and Derek White, two of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. And if there was a guy who you wanted to kind of combat Giannis and just scoring-wise, combat Giannis scoring-wise, it would be Jason Tatum. So I feel like they have the defensive backcourt to combat Milwaukee, and then they have a lot of offensive options that can kind of attack the weaker defensive positions that Milwaukee has. So if I had to give this trade a grade, I would definitely say an A minus to an A, because they definitely filled some positions of need. I feel like they needed this extra playmaking. They needed to get that defense back in the backcourt to kind of take some of the pressure off of the Jays and some of the pressure off of Derek White. But yeah, I really like this trade, and I'm really happy that, Boston Celtics are being proactive and not just, settling for, the same team, run out the same thing every year. This is probably their most proactive offseason that they've had, under Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens doing a great job, running the Boston Celtics. He's always looking for ways to improve, ways to get better. But another thing about this trade is that this kind of I don't want to say robbed. This kind of took away Boston's depth that they had. So now they got guys like Peyton Pritchard and, Howell, and then they got guys like, who else? They got Luke Cornett. Al Horford is off the bench. Well, we're going to see if he's, any good, moving on. But the bench is not going to be really strong, but they do have a lot of talent in the offensive. They do have a lot of talent in the starting lineup, which I think that can help them kind of mesh those bench units together. Because obviously you're not going to run like, 5 bench guys at a time. You're obviously going to leave some of the starters in. So I think with, proper staggering from Joe Mazzulla, I think this team can definitely, overcome their issues as far as depth goes. But yeah, man, I think the Boston Celtics, they have, a great shot to win the championship. I would say that they have a pretty even shot. Not even. If I had to pick, one way or the other in the Milwaukee and Boston series, I'd probably lean Milwaukee. But this Jrue Holiday trade really makes me think that it's going to be, really, really close. And I can see that series going 7, and I can see Boston going all the way. So this is a trade that just is really good for Boston. I really like this move. I'm really happy they did this, and we're just going to see how, how it works out for them this season. But the thing about this trade is that you're kind of risking your whole season. I don't want to say your whole season, but you're risking a lot on the assumption that Kristaps Porzingis is going to stay healthy, and he's always going to be there to, kind of anchor your defense. So let's say if Kristaps Porzingis was to go down, I don't really know who they turn to replace the production that he's going to give on the defensive end. Obviously, they don't have anybody off the bench who can, match him offensively, but I don't know if they have anybody who can match him, defensively as far as size goes, as far as rim protection and rim deterrence goes. So we're going to see how that works out. But, Kristaps Porzingis is a guy who doesn't really play 60 games per season often. So we're going to see how that works. But this Jrue Holiday trade, man, I really think he's going to be a great fit. I think he, after his time in Milwaukee, he's shown that he's a really good creator. He's a very, very solid to good playmaker. And I think that this is what the Boston Celtics have been missing, this kind of, extra piece that has, really proven as a creator. And I think that this is going to take a lot of pressure off of the Jays. This is going to let them get into some easier shots with, more people to set up those shots. So I just think that this was just a really, really great move, and I can't wait to see what Boston does with it, moving forward in the playoffs and the regular season. But yeah, I really like this trade. A- to A on the trade. Great stuff from this team. So if you take this video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.